Hello, friends. Dr. Nels here, coming to you this week with my honorable guest, my mother, Kathy Lindberg. And this week, we're going to come to you with information on life post kids out of high school, otherwise known as an empty nest. Hello, friends. Dr. Nels here, coming to you this week with more information on life, leadership, business, and family, helping build your values and principles so that you can be the best version of you. We had a first series with my incredible mother, Kathy Lindberg, on her life values, her core values, how she lived her life, and then last week's episode on your life and leadership and grit and determination throughout your professional career and some of those challenges. And now we keep advancing through your life and mine and talking about empty nesters. And some of this is very timely for me because Karen and I's twins, Nash and Mackenzie, will be graduating high school here in 2 months or something like that, 2.5 months, and then a few more months after that, we will be empty nesters. And when you have twins and that's all you have, they come in at once and they're going to leave at once.
That's
And so some of this was to gain wisdom from my mother on how she handled uh, my parents' empty nest. And we talk about this periodically. I went to Fort Hays State University undergrad, where both my parents went, and you took me to college, or went with me to the dorms that very first day, almost 30 years to the day from when you went there to college. And it's going to play out about the same for myself and Nash and Mackenzie, being almost about 30 years or maybe 31 years, something like that. No, it'll be 32 years from the time I went to college, although they were going to K-State. But as you think back to that day and going there, and it was typical hot August, and going up to third floor Weast Hall and carrying all my stuff up and doing that, and then pulling away. What was the hardest part about that day for you?
well, I can still see you standing there because we carried all the stuff up, and then we went to Walmart or went and got something to eat. I don't. Anyway, we left, and when we came back, because we were in my vehicle, that's when I was going to drop you off, and I was going to head home. And I looked in my rear view mirror, and I could see you standing there in the parking lot, and you're looking at me. and I thought, I'm just going to turn around and go back and pick him up and tell him he doesn't have to go. and But of course, I didn't.
No, no.
Of course, my mind said, "Now, Kathy, you cannot do that." So you can cry all the way home if you want, but you can't go back and get him. He must go on. He must fly,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's time.
yeah. So something as Karen and I's life has progressed, even before kids in high school. And we had friends, obviously, some of which you know very well. You watch them
Uh-huh.
go through high school and their kids, and now our kids are seniors, and it's a prideful time, right? Your kids are flourishing, kicking ass in high school, doing great things, and then they're gone, right? And you're in the same town, and there's probably a little shift in identity there. Um, how did that go for you? Or was there any sort of identity shift there when Eric and I were gone? Or
Um, well, as you remember, I said last week probably, um, I went back to school and taught. Still that same schedule of K
just kept
12,
working?
vocal and instrumental. And so I had all these kids coming in my room all the time. And I remember that we were doing maybe Little Abner that fall, the musical, and Kevin Blevins was in that senior class. He and I just talked about this the other night. Um, and I was meeting with the seniors, and I said, you know, we need to do blah, blah, whatever. I started with them by saying, now, you know, my kids are gone. They're not at the house anymore, so now you guys are my kids. And Kevin Blevins said, I feel sorry for you. And I said, well, Kevin, I don't. I don't have anything to feel sorry about.
Yeah, so you just kept working, right?
Right, I just kept
and-
working with whatever kids I had
Yeah,
in
yeah.
front of me.
And so shifting a little bit in a same topic, same direction with something different in terms of, um, as Nash and McKenzie go to school, I don't think I'll have this issue, but you know, when they're under our roof, we don't try to control our kids. We guide them and lead them, let them make decisions, and hope and pray they make good decisions, which they have for the most part. And they're going to screw some up.
Right,
But then
they're
they're out of
kids.
your house, and there's no longer this saving rope. And there's how did you release us without trying to control us?
I guess that I don't totally remember that I went through any qualms or any issues. It was pretty ground in me, I guess I would have to say, that you have your kids for this amount of time and you are raising them to fly.
Yeah,
That's the way that's the way it's supposed to be.
yeah,
And, you know, I was let go and I flew. And so I was going to let you all go because I felt like you had focus. You know, you had a plan. Erica had a plan. And if the plan got adjusted, hey, that's okay because it was always one of my codes. You pick something that you love because you're going to work a long time. And if you remember, after your first year at Hayes, you came home and said, Mom, do you care if I switch to taking care of animals instead of people? And I said, my usual, Nels, I don't care. If that's what you will love doing, you do it.
yeah, yeah. I remember very well. I knew I wanted to be more outside, and I loved animals.
Uh,
Yeah. So as we went through that stage, you becoming an empty nester, what did you pray for Eric and I as we left the house and entered college and entered life more on our own?
my prayer over you, as you well know, that even in high school, when you left on those weekend nights, and I could not go with you, I would stand at the door and put an angel on the top of the car or the hood, whichever, and that angel was going to keep you safe and keep you maybe making better decisions than you would without it. And so as you went to college, I prayed the same thing, that there would be people put in your path that would lead you on the path that you were intended to be on.
Yeah.
And that you would remember Daryl Miller's advice of, now Nels, get your homework done, then you go have fun
Yeah.
and go to class.
Yeah. Or in my father's words, no matter how late you stay out the night before, get your ass to class. Well, very good. So this one, we've made some nice advancements here and going through helping those that are facing an empty nest. Maybe there's some facing that empty nest challenge from this year, last year, etc. We know there's a whole new crop of parents across the nation and world that are going to be facing that this year. So we hope you found this information valuable. We're so glad you joined us. Click subscribe here if you like this content, and we'll see you next week, friends. Bye bye.